In the twilight of his remarkable life, Edgar Cayce granted one final interview, an interview that would never reach the public's ears during his lifetime. I was fortunate enough to discover these transcripts, hidden away for decades, containing revelations so profound that certain institutions deemed them too dangerous for mass consumption. My spiritual brothers and sisters, what I'm about to share with you has been deliberately kept from your awareness. The powers that control mainstream narratives have systematically suppressed these truths about what awaits us beyond the threshold of physical existence. Edgar Cayce, often called the sleeping prophet, accessed higher planes of consciousness while in trance states. Unlike ordinary psychics, Cayce demonstrated an extraordinary accuracy rate of over 85% in his readings and predictions. The medical community was particularly disturbed by his ability to diagnose illnesses without medical training, often from hundreds of miles away. The soul never dies, Cayce revealed in this censored interview. It merely transitions from one state of consciousness to another. The physical death that so many fear is nothing more than shedding an outworn garment. The essence of who you are, your consciousness, your memories, your spiritual identity, continues its journey uninterrupted. What makes these revelations particularly compelling is that they align with testimonies from other renowned mystics throughout history. The famous Bulgarian prophetess Baba shared similar insights about the afterlife, though her visions were often clouded by cultural symbolism. Cayce's clarity, however, was unparalleled. In this forbidden interview, Cayce explained that the transition we call death occurs in stages. The first sensation, he described, is one of floating, of being liberated from the constraints of physical matter. Pain instantly vanishes. Many souls don't immediately realize they've passed over, because the experience feels so natural, so harmonious with universal law. The most controversial aspect of Cayce's revelations, and perhaps why this interview was suppressed, was his assertion that religious dogma plays no role in determining one's afterlife experience. Heaven and hell are states of consciousness, not locations, he insisted. Each soul creates its own reality based on the vibrational frequency it has cultivated during physical existence. What's particularly relevant for our elder brothers and sisters is Cayce's emphasis on preparation. The transition is smoother for those who have contemplated and accepted their mortality, he explained. Fear creates spiritual static that can temporarily disorient the soul during crossing. Acceptance and surrender allow for a conscious transition. Cayce described what he called welcome committees, souls who have previously crossed over and returned to assist loved ones during their transition. No one crosses alone, he assured. Those you've loved who preceded you in death will be there to guide you through the initial phases of spiritual reorientation. Perhaps most comforting was Cayce's insistence that souls retain their individual identity and memories. You will remember your life, he stated. You will remember your loved ones. And yes, you will be able to watch over them and occasionally communicate with them if they're receptive. The interview contains detailed descriptions of the life review process, a panoramic replay of one's entire existence, but experienced from multiple perspectives, including how our actions affected others. It's not judgment from an external deity, Cayce clarified. It's self-realization, often accompanied by tremendous compassion for oneself and others. My beloved seekers of truth, what I share with you now is meant to bring comfort, not fear. Knowing what awaits can transform how you live your remaining earthly days. The veil between worlds is thinner than most realize, and the greatest tragedy is reaching your transition unprepared, clinging to materialistic values that have no currency in the higher realms. Cayce revealed that immediately following transition, souls enter what he termed the near-Earth plane, a transitional dimension that vibrates just beyond physical perception. This is why, he explained in the suppressed interview, recently departed souls can sometimes still be sensed in homes or near loved ones. They haven't yet fully detached from the Earth's vibrational field. During his deepest trance states, Cayce was able to perceive 7 distinct dimensions, or mansions, that souls traverse in their eternal journey. Each dimension represents a higher vibrational frequency and expanded consciousness. The soul does not leap immediately to the highest realms, he cautioned. It would be like expecting a first-grade child to comprehend quantum physics. Spiritual evolution is gradual, loving, and perfectly calibrated to each soul's development. What makes these revelations particularly remarkable is their alignment with quantum physics discoveries that occurred decades after Cayce's transition. Modern science now acknowledges the possibility of multiple dimensions existing alongside our own, precisely what Cayce described from his mystical insights. Time as you understand it ceases to exist, Cayce explained. In the higher dimensions, past, present, and future exist simultaneously. This is why genuine prophets like myself can access future events. We're simply perceiving what already exists in a higher dimensional reality. The most profound aspect of Cayce's revelations concerns what he called soul clusters, groups of souls who incarnate together repeatedly throughout many lifetimes. Your deepest relationships are not accidental, he revealed. The souls you feel most deeply connected to have likely been with you for thousands of years, playing different roles in your many lives. A mother in this life might have been your child in another. A spouse might have been a sibling. Cayce emphasized that elder souls, those approaching their transition, often begin to intuitively sense the presence of their soul cluster waiting for them. Those seemingly inexplicable moments of peace that come in the final stages of life are often the result of reconnecting with your eternal soul family, he explained. They gather, ready to welcome you home. The banned interview contains Cayce's description of what he called the Great Homecoming, the soul's reunion with its higher self and source consciousness. The overwhelming sensation, he said, is one of returning to a place you've always known but had temporarily forgotten. The love experienced in this reunion is beyond human comprehension. It makes our most intense earthly love seem like a mere shadow. For those advanced in years, Cayce offered specific guidance. As you approach transition, practice detachment from material concerns. The soul that clings to physical possessions, unresolved conflicts, or earthly status will experience a more turbulent crossing. Release is the essential spiritual practice for the final stage of incarnation. Most controversially, Cayce revealed that souls have agency in determining their next experience. Some choose immediate rebirth, others choose to serve as guides for those still incarnated, while others dedicate themselves to healing and learning in the higher dimensions before returning to physical form. My spiritual friends, particularly those in their golden years, understand that what awaits you is not oblivion, but expansion. The limitations of aging bodies, the dimming eyes, the failing hearing, the weakening limbs, are merely temporary conditions of the physical vehicle. Your consciousness, your essence, remains eternally vibrant, eternally young. The mystical traditions of cultures worldwide have glimpsed these truths, though often in fragmented form. Cayce's gift was his ability to perceive the complete picture, unfiltered by religious dogma or cultural limitations. Even the ancient Bulgarian seer mentioned earlier, while gifted with remarkable foresight, did not attain the clear perception of dimensional realities that Cayce accessed. Each soul incarnates with specific intentions, Cayce revealed in the censored interview. These soul contracts are not random, they represent precisely calibrated opportunities for growth, healing, and service. Yet, as incarnation progresses, the physical world's density causes most to forget their pre-birth intentions. This spiritual amnesia, he explained, is the source of much human suffering and confusion, particularly as one approaches life's final chapter. What's remarkable about Cayce's revelations is his insistence that the soul begins preparing for transition long before the conscious mind acknowledges mortality. The higher self initiates a subtle withdrawal process approximately 7 years before physical transition, he explained. This manifests as changing interests, decreasing attachment to material acquisition, and spontaneous life review experiences. For our elder brothers and sisters, these revelations offer profound validation. Those inexplicable moments of nostalgia, the sudden urge to resolve old conflicts, the diminishing interest in accumulating possessions. These are not signs of decline, but of spiritual preparation, of the soul beginning its magnificent homecoming journey. Cayce shared specific insights about the different types of soul transitions. Some souls require rapid transition due to spiritual timing, he revealed. Others need the gradual process that comes with aging or extended illness, not as punishment, but as essential preparation time. This understanding transforms how we perceive illness in our final years, not as meaningless suffering, but as sacred space for completion. The suppressed interview contains Cayce's most controversial assertion that souls often choose their exit point and method before incarnation. What appears as random tragedy from the earth plane perspective is often precisely timed transition from the soul perspective, he stated. The soul knows when its earthly mission is complete, even when the conscious mind resists this knowledge. For those in their wisdom years, Cayce offered specific guidance for conscious preparation. Daily contemplation of transition as a doorway rather than an ending dissolves fear. Visualization of reunion with loved ones who have crossed before creates vibrational bridges that will serve during actual transition. Cayce described what he called transition symptoms, subtle signs that the soul is preparing to depart. Increased dreams of deceased loved ones, spontaneous life review experiences, moments of expanded awareness where time seems to stop, and brief glimpses of non-physical realms. These experiences, often dismissed as senior moments or confusion, are actually sacred glimpses beyond the veil. What makes these teachings particularly powerful is their alignment with accounts from those who have experienced near-death journeys and returned. Dr. Raymond Moody's research, conducted decades after Cayce's transition, documented hundreds of cases that confirmed Cayce's descriptions of the crossing process. The famed Bulgarian mystic Baba also perceived aspects of the transition process, though her visions were often expressed through cultural symbolism that obscured their universal elements. Cayce's perceptions transcended cultural limitations, revealing the mechanics of transition that apply to all souls, regardless of religious background. The greatest preparation for conscious transition, Cayce emphasized, is the practice of forgiveness, both giving and receiving. Unresolved resentments create energetic anchors that can temporarily bind the soul to lower vibrational planes after physical death. This explains why many traditional spiritual practices emphasize forgiveness and reconciliation for the elderly. For those with loved ones approaching transition, Cayce offered this guidance. Speak openly about the journey ahead. The soul craves acknowledgement of its coming freedom, even when the personality fears it. Creating sacred space for honest conversation about transition is one of the greatest gifts you can offer. Most importantly, Cayce revealed that conscious acknowledgement of approaching transition actually enables more peaceful crossing. The soul that denies its imminent journey often experiences more turbulence than the soul that embraces it. Acceptance creates energetic alignment that facilitates smoother passage between dimensions. My dear ones, particularly those in life's autumn season, understand that what you are experiencing is not decline, but transformation. The physical limitations of aging are simultaneously accompanied by spiritual expansion that most fail to recognize or honor. You stand at the threshold of the soul's greatest adventure. Consciousness neither begins at birth nor ends at death, Cayce declared in the final portion of this censored interview. It exists in a continuous stream, temporarily focusing through physical form, but never confined by it. This understanding shatters our conventional perception of existence as linear progression and reveals the magnificent spiral nature of soul evolution. What makes these teachings particularly significant for our elder wisdom keepers is Cayce's revelation about memory and identity. Nothing of significance is ever lost, he insisted. The consciousness that transitions carries with it every meaningful experience, every loving connection, every moment of growth. What falls away is only the temporary and the trivial. Cayce described what he termed soul resonance, the vibrational signature unique to each consciousness. This resonance remains consistent through all incarnations and transitions, he explained. It's why souls recognize each other instantly upon reunion in the higher planes, even when they've worn many different physical forms across lifetimes. For those approaching transition, Cayce offered this profound assurance. The awareness that animates you now, your sense of I am, continues uninterrupted. There is no gap in consciousness, no oblivion, no ceasing of identity. The experience is one of expansion, not extinction. The most controversial aspect of these teachings concerns what Cayce called the between-lives state, the soul's experiences and choices between physical incarnations. In this elevated state, he revealed, souls review their previous life experiences, receive guidance from higher spiritual entities, and participate in planning their next incarnation if they choose to return. Cayce's insights align remarkably with quantum physics' understanding that energy cannot be destroyed, it can only change form. Consciousness is fundamental, he stated, not an emergent property of brain activity as materialistic science claims. The brain is merely the receiver and translator of consciousness, not its source. In the suppressed interview, Cayce addressed the question of why these profound truths about consciousness continuity remain hidden from mainstream awareness. There are forces in your world, he explained, that maintain power through humanity's fear of extinction. When souls realize their eternal nature, they become ungovernable by fear, and thus threaten systems built upon manipulation of that fear. For our beloved elders, Cayce offered specific guidance for the final phase of physical existence. As transition approaches, practice conscious connection with your eternal nature. Meditation that focuses on the phrase, "I am more than this body," gradually transfers identity from the temporary physical form to the eternal consciousness. Cayce described beautiful preparatory practices. Speak aloud to those who have crossed before you. They perceive your communications perfectly. Create a mental sanctuary, a visualized meeting place where you can commune with them. This establishes vibrational pathways that will serve during actual transition. The most profound aspect of Cayce's teachings concerns what he called consciousness bridges, connections between the physical and non-physical realms. These bridges are strengthened through consistent acknowledgement, he explained. The simple act of speaking to departed loved ones, sensing their continued presence, and remaining open to subtle signs of their existence maintains these essential connections. Unlike the Bulgarian prophetess Baba, whose gifts primarily involve prediction of future events, Cayce's unique ability allowed him to perceive the mechanics of consciousness itself. While her prophecies focused on earthly occurrences, his revelations illuminated the eternal journey of the soul beyond physical existence. The greatest illusion, Cayce emphasized, is not that life continues after physical death, but rather that it ever began. What you perceive as birth was merely consciousness entering the physical plane, not the beginning of your existence. Similarly, what you perceive as death is consciousness withdrawing from physical expression, not its cessation. My beloved friends on the wisdom path, particularly those in life's final season, understand that you stand not at an ending, but at a threshold. The limitations and challenges of aging are not punishments, but preparations. The soul's gradual process of disentanglement from physical density. Remember these eternal truths. You are consciousness having a temporary human experience. Your awareness continues uninterrupted. Those you have loved are waiting to welcome you home. And the journey that awaits is not into darkness, but into greater light than the physical mind can possibly comprehend. This completes the sacred revelations of Edgar Cayce's suppressed interview, wisdom that transforms not just how we die, but how we live. May these truths bring peace to your heart and clarity to your spirit's journey. Beloved seeker, if these forbidden revelations about the afterlife have awakened something within you, please honor this sacred connection by subscribing to our spiritual community now. Your subscription is more than a digital action. It is a commitment to receiving truths that have been deliberately hidden from humanity for generations. Leave your comment below, sharing how these revelations about Edgar Cayce's suppressed interview have touched your soul. What aspect of the eternal journey resonates most deeply with your spirit? Your words may be precisely what another seeker needs to hear at this moment in their spiritual awakening. Remember, by sharing this video with someone approaching their transition, you become a messenger of profound comfort and liberation. The greatest gift we can offer each other is the knowledge that consciousness never ends. It simply transforms into ever more beautiful expressions of divine light. Subscribe now to continue receiving these sacred revelations that the material world doesn't want you to discover.